How long does it typically take you to write a project from start to finish?
They're all different. I think Forever My Lady took me about 2 to 3 weeks.
Excuse me?
Um,
You said weeks? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mic'd Up Podcast. My name is Kaya. I am your host. I am also an author, an entrepreneur, and a poet. And today I'm really excited for the guest we have on today. She is the author of the 3-book series, the R&B series. We have Olivia Linden in the house. How are you today?
I'm doing great, actually. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. So we are going to dig right into your bio and then we're going to go into your Q&A. I'm excited to talk about this book. So let's get into it. Okay, so your bio reads, Olivia Linden, a native New Yorker, was raised between Queens, New York and San Antonio, Texas. Her stories mix her big personality with a sexy yet humorous tone, weaving tales of passion and suspense that you can feel, branding you with her unique vibe. Olivia's creative drive began when her elementary school principal posted one of her stories in the halls of her school. She was only 7 at the time, but old enough to understand how integral writing would be to her future. From that moment on, reading and writing became her two greatest passions. She hasn't stopped writing since she found her literary voice all those years ago. Olivia Linden, giving you that vibe. Okay, I like that bio. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. So my first question is, so in your bio you state that at 7 years old is when you really took to reading and writing, you gained that passion for it. So at what age did you start to take writing seriously?
It wasn't until I was probably in my 30s that I took it seriously. Prior to that, I would write stuff, but just for myself. You know,
Okay.
um, when I was little, I used to do like little reenactments of plays like Cinderella and things like that and have my
Mhm.
friends act it out. But as I got older, I would start these projects, I would have these real big ideas, and then I would just kind of lose the plot a little bit.
Mm.
And I think back, it was around 2012 when I really was like reading, I think 50 Shades of Grey. And I was like, girl, you could do this. Like, why aren't you doing this? And I had a story that was just sitting there. And I'm
Right.
like, just finish it.
Right. It is usually something that we see or we read that makes me think, if this person can do it, then why ain't I doing it? So,
What are you doing?
yeah, yeah. And for me, it was similar. I had a similar experience because I started writing early as well.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until I saw a book that I was just like, this can't be serious. Like, if this person can do this, there's no way I'm not leaning into my gifts. So, yeah,
Exactly.
that's how it happened for me as well. So my next question is, why did you choose romance as your genre?
Because I love romance.
Mhm.
I started reading young. My mother got me into reading really young, and she had passed by a library one day and they were getting rid of a bunch of books and she took them all. So she had a bookshelf with hundreds of books on it. And I think I was about 11 when I found that first like romance bodice ripper type book.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think I've read that one particular book, I've read it at least 30 times. Like,
Oh,
it was something about the world building, but like the romance was just, at that young age, I was just like, oh my God.
yeah. Now
And
looking good. Sorry.
no, that's just what made me feel like that's my favorite, no
Yeah,
matter what I read.
oh, sorry. Yeah, it does like invoke a feeling inside of you. I get it. So, looking back, do you think you were too young to have read that book?
I read this book now and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
But back then it was just like, whoosh.
yeah, yeah. That's funny. And I think, it's the same thing like we'll get into your series is heavily music based. And back then we're listening to songs like, just singing the lyrics, and then you get to be an adult, you're like, they said what?
It,
It's like
listen,
the same type of thing. It's the same thing. Um so who or what have been your inspirations in this journey in writing romance?
I don't know. It's interesting. When you ask me stuff like this on the spot, I can never think of it. But I know that there were certain books that I read, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep going. When I first came on the scene, there were, all these little author groups, and I was
Mm,
in one group in particular, and it had Danielle Allen in it, it had Brittany
mm,
Cherry in it, and those two ladies in particular, when I saw just how they developed, because I kind of took a step back
mm.
and took some time off from writing, but it always inspires me when I can see someone from the start and you see the trajectory, you know what I'm saying? And you know that it's attainable,
Mm.
and you know what they encountered, you know the struggles, so it's like, all right, this person persevered, they kept going, and I feel like that's very inspiring.
Now, when you were ready to like pull the trigger on it, were you shy about sharing your stuff, or were you ready?
I think it was a progress because I had a friend read it first,
Mm.
and she devoured it. She, like, I only had a few chapters, and she was like, "Where's the rest of this?" And I'm like, "There is none." And she was like, "Well, get to, writing." So I felt comfortable by the time that I was ready to release that, I
That you
knew there
had.
was at least some audience that would enjoy it. So it's nerve-wracking, but I wouldn't say I'm shy. I'm just like, okay, just don't hurt my feelings, all right?
Yeah, because it can be like it's your little baby, and you want when you
Mhm.
put it out there, you want it to have people,
Yeah.
you want it to be received well, and you want it to be received the way you intend it to be. So I understand that.
Yeah.
Um so when you're crafting your stories, your characters, storylines, building worlds, what is your goal when you're doing that? What is your goal to give to the reader or to your audience?
So, in my bio, that word vibe came out, I think, like twice.
Mm,
And that's really what I strive for. I know when I read books, I like the feeling that I get. I like when I feel like I'm part of that world, when I can
mm.
lose track of time and, everything that's going on. So that's really my goal, is that when you read my book, you're going to have this good feeling, or at least feel what I'm portraying on the pages, So
Yeah.
that's really the number one. I want you to enjoy the book. That's it.
Okay. What do you feel makes a romance book enjoyable? What elements do you pull together that you say, okay, this is it, this is going to keep their attention, oh, they're going to like this part? Like, what elements
Mhm.
do you think helps make you successful in that?
I think it's the tension, building up those little feelings that we have sometimes that we, don't acknowledge or we gloss over, but they're really big in pulling two people together. And that's what pulled me into romance,
Mm,
that, oh my God, that palpable, like, these two
yeah.
people are so into each other.
I think that's what I like about romance novels as well,
Mhm.
is like you said, the building up, the anticipation, the little pieces that bring them closer and closer together until
Yeah.
they finally get there. So yeah, I agree with you on that one. So are your movie and TV show tastes the same? Are you like heavy into like rom-coms and like sappy romance movies and things like that?
So that's funny because I do like rom-coms, but my favorite is actually thriller. My favorite
Oh,
genre to watch on TV is actually thriller, suspense, anything with like investigation, investigating serial killers. It's a big jump. So
yeah.
that's weird, but that's what I like.
Do you like romance movies? at
I
all?
do. I know. I do
Okay,
like
but your
but
your
it's
whole
just
thing, like you rather watch a thriller. What would you say is one of your favorite romance movies, past or present?
Boomerang.
You know what? That's a good one. Typically people will be like, Love Jones, Love and
Right.
Basketball, and those
Right.
are good ones too. But Boomerang has a really profound message, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking you and I are around the same age based on your music choices. But back then, watching that movie, I didn't understand a lot of the themes that's going on. I just saw,
Mm-hmm.
like we all saw it. But watching it as an adult, you really
Yeah.
get it now. And I think it
Mm-hmm.
is like, I do think is that movie is overlooked when it comes to the conversation of love movies, because
No, it's true.
yeah, it was very different, especially for that time. And then you have Eddie Murphy, like, you don't think romance when you think of him. But that's a good one. That's has a really profound
Yeah,
message.
his relationship with Angela, I think, is very underrated. I think even when people think of the movie, they always think of Robin,
Yeah,
but it was, that relationship was the one that went through the tests and,
yeah,
he had to change in order to, get her back. So that's what I love.
yeah. And the ending of that movie when he was,
Hmm.
girl, you gonna make
Hmm.
me go watch that movie. Yeah, that was a good one. Very underrated. Very good. That's a good one. That's a good one. Um, now you say that you love thrillers. Are there is that a genre that you feel like you would step into as a writer? And are there any other genres you would like to write if, besides
Yeah,
thriller, if that's
I
one of
would love to write a thriller. I have two that I kind of outline just a little bit,
them?
but for me, the romance just flows much easier. The romance ideas, the romance stories, they're so
Mm,
complete, so easy. So I think once I have like a little bit of downtime, I'm really gonna try to lean into it because one of my first things that I did was a little comic strip, and it was about a mad scientist who was experimenting on his girlfriend at night.
mm. What?
My brother was just like, "What? What
Wait,
is
how
what's
old are
happening
you?
here?"
Wait a minute.
I
How
don't even know, like 9,
what
somewhere around there, 9, 10.
hold on.
And
Wait a minute,
she
Paul.
was just
What
like,
kind of
"Ma'am."
experiments? What do you mean?
I didn't get into detail, but it was like the first slide you see him, it's kind of nerdy in his regular life. And then the second
Okay.
strip was him coming up with this idea, some potion or whatever. And then
Okay.
at the bottom, it's like he's in the basement and you see like he's crazy now. And the girlfriend
Oh.
is like kind of tied up. And my mother's just like, why is she tied up? What is about to happen?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So it was innocent.
Hmm.
Innocent
Hmm.
experiments.
Innocent. I just didn't go into it because I was like, all right, maybe this is a little dark. Maybe I
Hey,
don't need to
maybe
write that.
you have dark romances in your future.
Could
Yeah.
be. Could be.
Yeah, I see that genre starting to get a little more popular
Hmm.
within at least the Black romance
Hmm.
literary community. I'm seeing a lot of authors turn into trying, dark romance, and I'm noticing that the reception of it has been really good. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think I will. I do have a dark romance idea also, so I'll explore that a little bit.
hmm And I think it's important for everybody to realize no matter what genre you're in, that there's space for everybody. There's space for every genre, every type of writer.
Hmm.
Because there's an audience for
For
everything you write.
everything.
Yeah, someone is sitting back waiting for the book that you're writing. And anytime I get a chance to say that when I'm on a podcast, I have to, because
Hmm.
I think it's more beneficial to lift one another up, and push the platforms and say, hey, this person's trying that, this person's writing that, and really just put the authors out there so they can find their tribe, because
Right.
there's so much to go around, there's so much talent. so much talent. Like I see new to me authors
Hmm.
like pretty much every day now. Like every day.
Yeah, it's exploding, definitely.
It is, and I think it's a
Mm.
great thing. I think it's a great thing. Um, so my next question I have for you is, how do you feel you have grown as a writer over the years?
I feel like I'm more comfortable with my voice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more, I think, intentional when I write. Before, I used to just blah, just like whatever was here, I just throw it down. And then sometimes that's overwhelming when you're trying to make sense of something. Where now I kind of know what I want to write. I take that time to process, okay, what is this story? What is trying to get out? Where before I would get an idea and I would just start going.
Mm,
So it helps a lot because it keeps you on a path
right.
versus just like creating and then being like, all right, do I want to fix this? Mm.
Well, let me ask you this. In writing your stories, what do you feel, if anything, is the most difficult type of scenes for you to write?
I think for me, the difficult scenes are the unexciting scenes, the ones that, kind of you
Like
need
the
it to get the
fillers?
story right. We need it,
Mm,
but it's just like, okay, is this boring? Like, is this
mm,
necessary? All right, do I need this? But everything can't be like pow, 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 pow. You
right.
need those
Yeah.
steps. So,
Yeah, you got to have that good balance in there.
right.
All right. So on the flip side of that, what's your favorite type of scenes to write? I'll answer that question first and say my favorite types of scenes to write are conflict because I
Hmm.
like writing drama. I like,
Yeah.
characters, arguing with one another. I like tense
Hmm.
moments. I like people getting cussed out. I like writing those types of things. What would you say yours
I
is?
can agree with that. I like the emotional scenes. That's what I was gonna say. Just like you said, it could be tension or it could be, a happy emotion, but I like it when the characters, show us a side of themselves that they may not necessarily show. And
Hmm.
so I like writing out like the emotions, the drama, I
Hmm.
love a good argument. I love a good
Yes.
back and forth. So
Yes.
that's my favorite. And then the spicy would be next.
The spicy would be next. Now, do you find as a romance author, obviously when people are reading, they're waiting for that spice.
Hmm.
Do you find that it's difficult to find different ways to write those scenes because really it's all the same end goal, really? But
Hmm. Hmm.
is that challenging for you?
It is because like in this series, every book is a different couple,
Right.
right? So I don't want the men to be the same. I don't want the responses to be the same. So you do have to be mindful that okay, what how would this person like I have to kind of get into their personality to make sure that what they're doing is kind of matching up who they are
Right.
versus just a sensational thing that I want to, you know, shock people with.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's see. So my next question I have for you, we're already talking about your writing process as far as your character personalities. How do you build your characters and decide your storylines? And I'll say this, I'm finding that I really like myself a little resort romance. I don't know what it is about it. I really enjoy it because I've read some before and I'm like, I just like that whole vibe. So
Mhm.
how do you decide those storylines and characters?
You know what? I honestly, it's like I see my stories almost like movies. And I just start getting these scenes. So it's like I don't even really ever sit down and say, I'm gonna write a story about this.
Right.
I just sit here and I'm like, okay, what is this that's coming right now? And then I just start writing it out and then, it kind of goes from there. And then I'll have to, there's certain things I have to make up, like, all right, what does this person do or where does this person live, but a lot of times the overall idea just comes and
It
I'm
just
like, all right.
comes. Now, do you find that you're maybe subconsciously drawing from you and your own experiences with these characters, or are you mindful not to do that?
Yeah, that I don't like that. I don't want like you're gonna get my sense of humor. You get my sense of humor. I mean, as far as like emotional stuff, maybe I'm pulling from either what I think I might do in certain situations or people that have the personality types that I'm writing about.
Okay.
So I don't like I've thought about it. I don't want anything that I know in real life to be in my books unless
Right.
I'm writing something based off of real life. I want it all made up. It's not me, it's not
Got it.
her, it's not them, it's
Got
fake.
it. So here's something that I need to ask because this happened to me. When I wrote my first romance novel, there were people from my past, men, that asked me if the book was about them. I'm assuming by your reaction that has happened to you.
I'm like, no.
Just like,
People think it's me. Did that happen to you? I'm like, no.
yeah.
And were you thinking about me when you wrote? No,
Isn't that so
no.
funny? Why do they do that? Why do they do that? Has to
Oh,
be
I
an
get
ego
not.
thing.
It is. It is. It is. And I'm
But
like, if you think about it, that we didn't even experience anything like that. Why would you think that was you? It's not you. It's never gonna be you.
that part, because I'm just like, it. I'm not going to put a time frame out there, but it was somebody from like a long time ago that I
Hmm.
haven't even in like years, literally years and years. And then all of a sudden it's just like, is that character about me? I'm like, when have you ever been a millionaire?
Right.
I
Right.
barely, let me not go there, but I'm just like, why would you think, you think that? How is it
Like,
about you?
be for real. Let's be real.
I just
Now,
think
my
that it's,
favorite is people who are like, "Oh, I got plenty of, I could help you. I could give you some information."
oh,
You do nothing
really?
for me, okay? Leave me alone.
Oh, see, I haven't gotten that, but it's just, yeah, I think it's really funny and strange how as soon as you start writing about that, people just have all these things that they think, I don't know, they just have these things that they want to say or they think it's them. I just I
Right.
will never understand that. It's so bizarre to me. But yeah, let's move on from that because that was
I just
crazy
wish
to
I could
me.
tell you it's not you.
Shoot, you don't know how many times I thought about using a name of somebody I know just to do something crazy to, crazy to in the book. Not
I have a
anything
friend
like
that does
vicious.
that. I have an author friend that she uses real people and like they're out of here.
I understand that. I understand. I haven't done it, so if anyone's watching, I've never done it, but I understand why people do it. Um, so my next question is, how long does it typically take you to write a project from start to finish?
They're all different. I think Forever My Lady took me about 2 to 3 weeks.
Excuse me?
Um,
You said weeks? What?
that story flew out of me. And then it's interesting because I was actually working on another book. And I've been working on that book for a year,
Oh my
and
goodness.
I was in the middle of a very sad, tragic type scene. And I was just like, man, I just kept thinking to the scenes where the, main characters were the romantic parts. And so I was like, you just need to write a romance. You need to write a cute romance.
Yeah,
No drama, no suspense,
right,
no angst. Because my first series was like a love triangle. So, I was like, you just need a straight up,
right. I get that.
and that it just came. I was like, ooh,
2 to 3 weeks.
mm-hmm,
That's,
came out.
yeah. How many, this is author talk. How many words is it around?
I think that one is about 50. I think between 50 and 55.
That's still really great for 2 to 3
Yeah,
weeks.
that
Yeah.
one came
Oh,
out.
wow. Okay. Hmm.
Hot off the
So
press.
yeah, that's really great. So what has surprised you the most since being in the literary community, having your book finished, putting it out there, getting responses from it? What has been the most surprising thing for that's happened?
I think it's you hope that people are going to enjoy whatever you write.
Uh-huh.
I think it's the repetition of getting out how much this person loved this book. I have one reader in particular, I love her to death, and she's like, it rewired something in my brain, and I'm
Mm,
like, so it's a surprise. Like, even though I know that this is what I want, it's always a surprise when people are like, how much it made them feel or how much it affected them. It's still like, wow.
yeah, isn't that funny that people say, "Oh, this is my favorite. I love this," or
Mhm.
"Are you doing an event? I want to meet you," and things like that. That's isn't that strange? It's like me. Is that
Me, I know. Somebody was like, "Oh, I look at you guys as stars." I'm like,
right? Yeah, I like
wow.
it's a good feeling, but I at least for me, I'm just like I always gotta say no. I'm just regular,
Listen,
degular. I'm just glad that I'm
goofy.
able. Yeah, I'm glad that I'm able to reach the people that
Hmm.
reach my audience, and that's good enough for me. So yeah, but it is very, I think it's flattering, and it feels good to know that people enjoy your work so much that they want to know more about you or and
Right,
things like
right.
that. So um let's see. We kind of went over, I guess I was going to ask you what's the most rewarding part of writing. And I guess you kind of covered that with people,
Hmm.
telling you how they feel about your writing. Um, have you had anything that was like a highlight that was just like, you can't believe that happened? It just made you feel really good and really inspired. Like, I'm definitely going to keep doing this.
I think the book two, the responses I got a very detailed review. She sent me an email. She was like,
Mm,
I don't, if you're okay with me posting this, I'll post it as a review. But the way that she laid out the writing and how she received it, I don't know. Most people would be like, "Oh, it's just a review," But it made
right,
me feel like, "Wow, I'm really doing something." It's
right.
not just an idea. It's not just a craft, but
Mm,
you're really affecting people, even if it's just for 10 minutes, an hour.
right.
And that to me, that's the highlight. Like when I get those in-depth reviews where people are thanking me for writing a book, I'm like, "Wow, okay."
Mm. Okay.
That's or making a video, when people make videos and they're like,
Yes. Yeah. I love when I see those. Those are great. That people take the time to really appreciate what you do.
mhm.
I would agree with that. So, one of my last questions I have for you is what projects do you have coming up in the future?
Okay, so book three of the R&B series, Lovers and Friends, is coming out on the 23rd.
Which is,
Actually just got my proof yesterday, so I'm like excited because I'm like, this is probably my favorite proof that I've received because I think this book, I did the cover, so
uh-huh.
I'm like, I'm kind of proud of it. I kind of love it.
Yeah,
So
it looks good. I like your
thank you.
covers. Hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Coming out on the 23rd. And then I have an anthology that it's coming out next year, but I think we're starting to promo it now. So it's a Geeks and Jocks anthology with
Okay.
about five other authors. And have like a little secret project that I'm collabing with someone that's coming out around the holidays. So I have a couple things percolating.
Okay, it seems like you don't put a lot of pressure on yourself to pop out projects.
No.
Okay. So,
That's what kind of got me to take a pause because my first series I released back in 2013,
mm,
and by 2014 I was burnt out.
mm,
I was trying to do too much. I was trying to be here, there, and everywhere, the work that I was releasing wasn't the best quality because I wasn't taking my time. And then I would get frustrated because you could do better, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so it's like, do I stop and go back and fix, or do I do this? But there's always going to be something new. There's always going to be another thing you want to be a part of. And so I
Yeah.
just kind of got to this place where I'm like, all right, I'm not really doing well on either side.
Right.
I'm doing too much, and then I have this stuff in the back of my mind like, you got to fix that.
Right.
And between that and just like social media stuff, I was like, all right,
Yeah.
mm,
Do
I'm
you,
out.
do you find that I'm asking this because I found this was probably the most difficult thing. After you write the book, the actual promotion of the book, do you find that part to be hard?
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm like, can I pay somebody? Like, I will pay you. Please help me.
yeah, I'm like, what is the secret sauce here? Like, who has the secret sauce? But you just got to keep on and keep on and keep on, because there's
Mhm.
always someone who hasn't read your book. So it's like, at least like for me, and I was just like, well, this book has been out X amount of times. I don't want to keep pushing it, but there
You have
people who
to.
have, yeah,
You have to.
yeah.
You
So,
know, somebody put it to me like this, because when I came first, I was like on Facebook, and
mm,
Facebook was my number one vehicle for trying to do everything. Coming back into it last year, I went on TikTok. And, the way TikTok works, y- people are always scrolling, right? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I posted 2 videos today. They're probably sick of me. That's probably a lot.
mm,
But somebody was like, imagine how many times you scroll. How many times have you seen the same people?
right,
Right? Did you say, oh, I already saw this person. I don't want to see them again? As long as the content is good and interesting, just
right.
like
People,
keep
yeah,
posting.
yeah,
And so I had to,
have that
get that
mindset.
down. Yeah.
And I think, you know what is a little challenging for people of a certain age because we didn't grow up in that
Hmm.
age of technology where we're constantly everything's electronic, we're sharing everything, we're constantly we didn't grow up like that. So it's an adjustment for us to actually do that because I find that people of a certain age value their privacy. It's like I want to show everything. I
Hmm.
don't want to share everything. So in this field, you kind of have to make you have to make yourself visible, whether
That,
you
yeah,
if you want people to know about you, but you kind of have
you have
to.
to put yourself
Yeah.
out there. Yeah.
You know who I want to be like, like as far as like visibility, I want to get to a point where I can just write a book, say, hey, y'all, I wrote a book, and I can just back up. Like, you know how Tracy Chapman did the Grammys, and that was it, and everybody
Hmm.
loved her and they appreciated her, and she went back and nobody said nothing.
That's it.
That's what I want to be able to do eventually. Now, I do
Hmm.
enjoy engaging with, readers and things of that nature, but it's not in my nature to be constantly doing that. So, even doing the podcast has been like a stretch for me. And I did that purposely to help myself, grow in different ways, but it's
Yeah.
not a natural thing for me. So,
No, I trust me. Like I said, everything is intentional now. So I started doing TikTok lives because part of being successful on TikTok, TikTok wants you to be on the app and they want you to get people
mm,
using the app. So the more you go live, I noticed the more they push your videos, the more. So
yeah, I'm
I'm
not on
like, all right.
TikTok. I'm not on
Yeah.
TikTok yet. I don't know. I get intimidated on how to use it, so I'm not on there yet, but
Yeah.
I intend to get on there. So my last question I have before we get into the book discussion is, where would you like to see your writing career in the next year?
In the next year, I would like to see, kind of like you said, I'd like to be more comfortable with my releases. I'd
Mm,
like to be more comfortable knowing that, okay, once I put this out, yes, I know I'm gonna have to promote it, but I don't want to feel like I'm behind the curve. Sometimes I feel
mm,
like I'm chasing the bus.
right.
I want to feel like I'm comfortably seated in the driver's, seat, and I'm just like going ahead. So I think, I would like to have a more organized schedule.
Mm,
And this is all me. This is all stuff that I have to change for
right.
my business. But I want to, a more organized schedule and just to feel more comfortable
Mm.
in, what I'm producing.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I for sure look forward to what you have coming up, and I look forward to finishing the R&B series. So we are going to get into the book discussion for the R&B series, and
Mhm.
we are going to bring in some people so we can discuss
Okay.
it. All right.
Oh.
All right. So, the next part of the podcast I'm really excited about because we are going to discuss book 1 of the R&B series called Forever My Lady by Olivia Linden. And I want to give a big shout out to you for that Spotify playlist you created for the book because I was listening to, I was playing, I was going through it and I'm like, oh, okay. So I could definitely see the inspiration from those songs
Mhm.
in the book. So shout out to you for that.
Thank you.
Um, so Forever My Lady is a childhood sweetheart slash second chance romance trope that takes place on a vacation resort type vibe
Mhm.
situation that I really like I was saying earlier, I'm really starting to like those vacation resort vibe like stories. I really enjoy them. So my first question is for this book, I found there was a good balance of romance, drama, and spice. How were you deliberate in making sure one of those themes didn't overpower the other?
As I'm writing, every time I write a new chapter, I read the book to see how it's flowing
Mhm.
and see what the continuity is. So I think I already have in my mind what I want to be most prominent. And so if I feel like something is, taking too much,
Yes,
yeah, I just scale it back a little bit.
you scale it back. Like I said, I feel like you had a good balance of everything because when I was reading it, it was so sweet and it was so engaging. But then when it got to the spice, I was like, "Hold what?" It it kind of surprised me because I thought the spice was going to be a little more toned down,
Mhm.
from like the build up. But I wasn't disappointed by that. I was just like, "Oh, okay." It to me, it kind of it it surprised me. It surprised me in a good way. In a good
Yeah.
way.
And I
Um,
kind of wanted that because I knew that with the pink cover and the, Forever My Lady, I think people were going to
yeah,
have a certain. So yeah, I did want the spice to kind of wake you up a little bit,
it
right?
did. It did for sure. So I was like, all right. I really enjoyed that. And I think that's something that if readers, if you're thinking about reading it, go ahead and read it because you'll get all of those elements. I guarantee it. So my next question is, what was your favorite scene to write in this book? I know you have probably many.
Yeah. And I feel like I want to make sure that I'm answering this right because I feel like every time I get asked this question, I'm like, is it the same scene? But actually, the scene with Shell and Remy, having that first talk in the hotel room,
Okay.
where they come together. That was my favorite.
Okay. Let me see. What is the most common feedback you receive from this book 1?
The most common feedback is about Remy, which I was surprised because afterwards I was like, did I make him strong enough? Like I wasn't sure if he stood out enough, but a lot of people they just love how he was with Shell and how they were with each other.
Yes, I think that sometimes we're used to hearing like the alpha male so much that
Hmm.
when it's not an alpha male character, you're like, oh, is it going to be enough for people? But people like that variety. And I think that he was a good amount of sweet and communicative and just really
Hmm.
aware of his feelings. And I really enjoyed that about him, that he was aware of his feelings and he wasn't afraid to express
Right.
his feelings. So I like that about her. Excuse me, I like that about him. Um, and I have two more questions for you. What
Okay.
lessons, sorry, what lessons would do you want readers to leave with after reading your after reading at least this book one?
I think the biggest lesson is about the communication that,
Mm,
like a lot of people were frustrated with Shell because they were like, this could have all been avoided if
yeah,
she would have just said something to him,
right.
back then. And I'm like, you're right, but then we wouldn't have a story. So I had to, give you something. But I think even the way they communicated when they came back together, she was scared. She was afraid for good reason. Is this going to be something that's going to last outside of this, forced proximity, beautiful conditions?
Right.
So I think a lot of times people would not express that. The
Mm.
way he was able to get her to feel safe communicating with him, I think that's, important.
That's what made him so likable to like, well, that's one of the things that made him likable to me. I feel like they were really good characters. The chemistry was there. You could tell the love was there. And I felt like, that miscommunication that happened when they were kids made sense because they were kids. You don't know about communication and stuff like that. It's just you're still learning. So I felt
Mm-hmm.
like that part made sense. I was frustrated that she was just like, well, I'm just we're moving anyway, so I ain't got to say nothing.
That's
I'm
it.
like, child, but teenage stuff, teenage stuff. So,
Mhm.
and my last question I have for the book, is will these titles be coming to audio?
Yes. Yes. It's in my plans.
Mm,
So, like I said, once I get book 3 out and I can, take a little breath, now that's my next step is to get them an audiobook.
okay. And I'll say this to you all who's joining. Hi, Casey. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Casey.
Um, I know a lot of us, we listen to audiobooks, but if you are a reader, go ahead and read this book. Go ahead and read this series. It is really, I only read the first book, but if the other two are like the first one, you're going to really enjoy it. I also really enjoyed about the book how you weave so many songs. Of course, it's called Forever My Lady. I'm
Mhm.
sure inspired by the Jodeci hit
So
record
to speak.
of the 90s. But really you get that vibe of 90s R&B, young adults going into adulthood. You get that playfulness between the characters that they really are
Mhm.
good friends. And to me, like you said, that you want people to kind of escape in your words. I was able to do that because it was just such a good feeling, you know, listening to these characters and these scenes, and I could picture everything. So I feel like you did do what you set out to do with, creating a world that we can get lost in and enjoy. So
Thank
thank
you.
you
I
for
love
that.
hearing that because, like I told you before, you never know how something's going to be received.
Hmm.
So when I'm hearing exactly what I was trying to do, I'm just like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, you did it. You did it. So again, the book is called Forever My Lady. It's a 3-book series. The third book will be out August 23rd. Well, it'll be out by the time this podcast is posted, and I will post the links for if you're interested in reading it. I'll post the links in the bio of this podcast. So now, this is what I would like to do. Now that we have talked about the book, I thought that it would be a nice treat to bring in an author, excuse me, to bring in a narrator to
Mhm.
give us a taste of what you can expect when you're reading the first book, Forever My Lady. So I have Alexis Stewart, whose audiobook credits include Wishing It All Away by Janae Balderas and Loving All of Me by Penny Blackwright. So thank you again for joining us, Alexis. How you doing today? Let me see. Make sure you're off mute.
fine, and you?
We are doing good. We're doing good. So,
Also have Carly's story,
Carly's story, who is that by?
Janae Baldaras as well.
Oh, by there. Okay, Janae Balderas.
Then there's another book coming out in like 2 weeks, Toxic, also by Penny Blackwright.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and link those in the bio as well if anyone's interested in listening to those. So I asked Olivia to pick out a scene, and we kind of agreed on the scene to be narrated, for you to narrate. So Olivia, if you wouldn't mind letting us know what we're about to hear from Alexis, and then once that's over, Alexis, you can go ahead and do what you do.
Okay.
So this scene is the two main characters. They finally are coming to terms with the fact that the feelings that they have for each other were real, even though they've been separated for 8 years. So this is the beginning of their first their real conversation in 8 years.
Okay. All right, Alexis, whenever you're ready. Oh, I'm sorry. You just said the main characters' names are Remy and
Shell.
Remy and Shell. Okay. Whenever you're ready, Alexis.
Okay. I noticed you got your music playing. He noticed, sorry. I Like by Cut Close was playing in the background. Yeah, you know how I do. She smiled. True, he agreed with a chuckle. I missed that, you know? Miss what? Shell had a feeling where this was going, but she wanted to hear the words. How we used to listen to music together. How you used to put all your parents' 70s soul ballads in Hall of Oats. You know, I swore they were black until you showed me the album cover. That was funny. She laughed. You were so confused and kept saying, but they are black whenever we listened to them. They both laughed, sorry, causing them to both relax a bit. Remember we used to sit on the phone and just listen to songs together? Shell felt all those memories she had pushed deep down, flooding up to the surface. Yeah, Remy nodded, like he was picturing it. We didn't even talk, just took turns playing songs that we hoped the other would like. Oh, I knew you would like my joints, she replied. Excuse me, miss. He laughed. Wait, excuse me, miss? He laughed. I guess it was just me trying to impress your ass. I guess. She quipped, and they both laughed. Then it was quiet again. I miss you, Shell, Remy said softly. I miss you too, she admitted. Her emotions were not just bubbling up, but threatening to overflow like a volcano, and she felt her throat constrict under the pressure. I miss you every day, he continued in earnest, and it never goes away. Not a day goes by that I don't remember that feeling of being with you, being happy and so sure of our future together, loving you. I'm done.
Oh, that was it? Okay. That was good.
The switch up. Yes, it was.
Okay. How'd you like that?
Thank you.
How'd you like that, Olivia?
I loved it.
Isn't it great to hear, your words interpreted? Yeah. Just wait till you get the whole audio. You're gonna go crazy with that. Thank you, Alexis. You did an amazing job.
So much. Yes,
as always. As always.
For the mistakes, like when I'm reading, we make mistakes that we have to edit out. So
it's okay. I mean, you didn't have a long time with the text, so it's good. I feel like you did a great job. So thank you.
You did.
All right. So if you all want to stick around for the last part of the podcast, if you joined my podcast before, you already know what I'm about to do. I'm about to play a little game. You already know. And Alexis actually played this game before, the urban trivia. I'm just gonna go ahead and play with Olivia, and just 3 points. And if you don't know the answer, maybe you can just ask the people in attendance, and maybe they can just go ahead and give you the answer. Let's try it that way. All right. First question.
Oh gosh.
It's all right. It's all right. Okay. On the movie Friday, how much money did Smokey's mom give him to buy some cigarettes from the store? Was it A, $1, B, $5, C, $10, or D, $7?
$5.
$5. That is not the answer. What
I
y'all
know
think
I
it is?
messed it up.
What y'all think it
It's
is?
$1.
It's $1.
It's $1.
She said, make it enough. All right, next question. Oh, okay. I was about to say, what does WAP stand for? WAP. Is y'all, come on now.
I know this one.
Well, I know you're gonna get this right. Is it A, worship and praise, B, wireless access point, C, waffles and pancakes, or D, none of the above?
None of the above.
None of the above. That's 1 point. Because they wasn't gonna put that on the
weak-ass
card.
principles.
Yeah, they wasn't gonna put that on the card. Okay. Next question. Who was the first athlete to grace the cover of Madden? Are you a sports person?
A little bit.
Okay. Was it A, Eddie George, B, Michael Vick, C, Emmitt Smith, or D, Ray Lewis?
Was it Michael Vick?
It was
Eddie George.
It was Eddie George. It was Eddie George. I'll go ahead and give you that point. I'll give you that point.
I know it was one of those two, but
all right, 2 points, 2 points. Last one. On the show Insecure, who did Issa cheat on Lawrence with? Was it A, Daniel, B, Neighbor Bay, C, Nathan, or D, Dro?
A, Daniel.
It was Daniel. It was Daniel. So that was the last one. See, you did good. You did good. You did good. So
see, I second guess myself all the time. I do that all the time.
I do that as well. So we are now at the end of the podcast. Thank you again, Olivia, for coming on. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Alexis, for coming in and sharing your gift with us and bringing the guest on, Casey. And I'm not sure of the other person's name who's here, but thank you for joining in. Before we go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Kim.
Kim. Thank you, Kim, for joining in. And again, the book is called Forever My Lady by Olivia Linden. Y'all get into it, get into it, get into it. I'm telling you. Is there anything you would like to say before we close out, Olivia?
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you. I had fun today. And I'm a very hands-on author. You know, I love to talk about the book. So if anything, if you want to complain, want to ask me what was wrong with Shell, hit me up. I love to talk about it. I'm here for you.
Okay. And what are your socials where everyone can find you?
So I'm Olivia Linden, either Olivia Linden or Olivia Linden author on Facebook. Instagram, I'm at Via Linden, but if you search Olivia Linden, you'll find me. TikTok is Olivia Linden author.
Okay. All right. Well, that is all we have for today, y'all. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you on the next one.